Hey folks, I'm H2 and you're on the F3 channel. Hey, this is the channel where you're going to get a kind of an account of the things I'm thinking of as I go through life pursuing bigger and better things, particularly finance. And I just want to share with the audience here some of the things that I'm doing or some of the things that I'm considering as it relates to finance, and maybe it can help you. What I want to talk about today is the subject of preparing your kids or preparing your children. And so the question I want to throw out here to the group is, do you have what it takes in order to prepare your children for adulthood, particularly in the latter teenage years as they are getting through high school and perhaps getting ready for college, and they're about to go off into the big world out there? Do you have what it takes in order to prepare them for the world out there? And so as I thought about that question today in terms of what I did or what my wife and I did in order to prepare our last daughter to get prepared for college and from there going into life, I just thought I'd share with you some of the things that we done. And so as I thought about that, I pondered the question of, how can I prepare my kid to go places that I've never been? And I like to throw that question out to the audience of, how can you prepare your kids to go places you've never been? Because after all, I think most of us want our kids to do better than ourselves. But how do we prepare them for that particular life if that life was not necessarily modeled or they have never experienced that before? So that's the question on the table. And as I thought about that thing, I thought, well, maybe it's the first thing that we should do is lay a proper foundation. So no matter what your kid want to do in life, where they want to go, there are things that you can do at home that can lay the proper foundation. Take, for instance, our daughter that has the great aspiration of being a doctor, and that's been her goal and desire back when she was, I don't know, maybe 8 years old or even earlier. She had this fascination with medicine, and that's what she wanted to do. Well, I'm no doctor. Well, I'm kind of a shade tree doctor. I go to Google and I learn a whole lot of medical stuff on Google, but that's just to take care of myself. And my wife is not a doctor. She's an IT kind of a person. So how can we, as two non-medical professionals, prepare her for medical school and or a career in medicine? And so certainly we couldn't do that based on our experiences, but we were, I suppose, prudent in laying a foundation. So your basic education, learning how to think for yourself, learning how to be responsible, learning how to discern issues that may be ambiguous. So we prepared her to do those kind of things that we think that will pay dividends for her in college and into her career. The second thing I think is important is not to teach your kids the things that you have failed in. And what I mean by that is, we have to be careful not to pass on to our children our own particular fears, our own biases, our own prejudices, and that sort of thing. Is because, we grew up in a different era, and sometimes we pass on to our offspring the things that we learned that was not necessarily helpful and certainly won't help them in their future, but we pass that on to them, and then they are hamstrung by by that type of mentality as they go out into the world where those kind of things won't help them. The last thing is to foster relationships with other people who are in those particular career fields or those specialties that we do not have. So while we are not doctors or medical kind of folk, we know a lot of other people, friends and associates that are medical doctors that were able to give us advice on the things my daughter needed to know as she pursued that particular career field. So there you go, folks. That's my take on what you need to do in order to prepare your kids for the world that's out there, even though it's not necessarily a place where you have been. All right? So hopefully that'll help you. This is H2 signing off.